It is 11:40 p.m., April 14th, 1912. Something rises out of the black water ahead of the largest moving object human beings have ever built. It doesn't announce itself. There's no swell to break against it, no moon to catch its edges. It is simply there, closer than anyone on the bridge believes possible, closer than the men in the crow's nest have time to process. In 4 minutes, a ship carrying over 2,000 people will shudder from bow to stern. History will call this an accident, a tragedy of nature. Bad luck on a clear, calm night. It wasn't. 12 hours earlier, 7 different ships had already tried to warn them. One gave coordinates so precise you could lay them over a map today and watch them line up almost exactly with the wreck itself. That warning was received. It was read. And then it was set down and forgotten, inches from a man's hand, for the rest of the night. So the real mystery was never how the Titanic sank. It's this. How do you warn someone 7 times and still not be heard? To understand that, you have to go back to the morning, to a ship that by every outward measure seemed impossible to threaten. She is unlike anything that has ever put to sea. 16 watertight compartments, sealed behind steel doors a captain can close with a single switch. The trade press calls her practically unsinkable. Nobody says this to sell tickets. Naval architects say it, insurers say it, and somewhere inside that certainty, without a single person deciding it or writing it down, an entire crew quietly stops asking what they'd do if it happened anyway. At 9 in the morning, the first warning arrives. A steamer called the Coronia reports icebergs and field ice along the shipping lane ahead. Captain Edward Smith reads it and asks that it be posted where his officers can see it. It goes up on the chart room board within the hour. 1 warning. Posted, read, done. The system working exactly the way it's supposed to, which is precisely why no one is watching closely enough to notice the moment it stops. At 1:42 that afternoon, a second warning comes in. From the Baltic, relaying a report of large quantities of field ice nearly 250 miles ahead. Smith reads it while walking the promenade deck. And then, without a word of explanation that survives in any record, he hands it to a passenger. Not just any passenger, J. Bruce Ismay, chairman of the White Star Line, the company that owns the ship beneath their feet. Ismay reads it, folds it, and puts it in his pocket. He shows it, almost as a curiosity, to 2 women he's talking to. Then he keeps walking. The warning stays in his pocket for hours. Why did the captain of the largest ship in the world hand a warning about deadly ice to a businessman instead of an officer? Nobody who could answer that question survived the night. 3 minutes after the Baltic's warning, a third message slips into Titanic's wireless room. This one from a ship called the America, addressed not to Titanic at all, but to the U.S. Hydrographic Office in Washington. It only passes through Titanic's wireless because Titanic happens to be within range to relay it onward. It reports 2 large icebergs at exact coordinates on this exact day. And because it isn't addressed to the bridge, because nobody has told the wireless operators that a private message to a government office might matter more than the passenger telegrams stacking up beside it, it never leaves the room. 3 warnings, 1 posted, 1 in a pocket, 1 that simply vanishes into the ordinary churn of a working day. There's a detail that makes this stranger still. The ship's 4th officer, Joseph Boxall, the man whose actual job is to plot every ice report onto the navigation chart, will later testify that he logged these warnings, that he marked them himself. And yet, years afterward, when asked to recall that day, he appears to have genuinely forgotten the very first one. He has to be reminded by the other surviving officers that he ever saw it at all. If the man responsible for tracking the warnings can lose track of them in his own memory, what does that tell you about how much weight the 4th one, or the 5th, or the 6th, is actually carrying by the time it arrives? One more failure belongs here, though it happened days earlier. A 2nd officer named David Blair was reassigned off the ship just before she sailed, and in the confusion of leaving, he walked away still holding the key to a storage locker. Inside it, The binoculars meant for the lookouts. Nobody thinks to replace them. Nobody sounds an alarm about it. It's a small administrative accident, the kind that happens on every ship, every voyage, and is almost never the thing that matters. Almost. By evening, the sea around Titanic goes unnervingly still. No wind, no swell, no moon. The kind of flat, glassy black water where starlight sits on the surface like a second sky, and the line between water and horizon simply disappears. It's beautiful. Passengers remark on it. And it is, without anyone realizing, one of the most dangerous conditions an iceberg can hide in, because there's no white water breaking against its base to give it away. Nothing to catch the eye until it's already close. Into this stillness at 7:30, a fourth warning arrives. From the Californian, reporting 3 large icebergs only a few miles from her position. This one reaches the bridge. Second Officer Charles Lightoller has it in hand while he's still on duty. 4 warnings now, 4 chances. And deep in the engine rooms, nothing slows. The needles on the gauges don't move at all. 20 minutes later, at 7:50, a wireless operator on another ship, the Mesaba, sends what will turn out to be the single most important message of the entire night. It gives coordinates. Not vague, not approximate, a tight box of latitude and longitude describing much heavy pack ice and a great number of large icebergs, also field ice. It's addressed plainly to Titanic and to all eastbound ships. When it reaches Titanic's wireless room at 7:20, only one operator is on duty. Jack Phillips is alone at the key, working through a mountain of backlogged personal telegrams that passengers have been paying to send since noon. He receives the Mesaba's warning. He reads it, and then he sets it down under a paperweight at his elbow, meaning to send it up to the bridge as soon as he clears what's in front of him. He never does. Later, much later, in the freezing dark, on top of an overturned lifeboat, Phillips will tell the men beside him exactly what happened to it. I just put the message under a paperweight at my elbow, just until I squared up what I was doing before sending it to the bridge. It sits there, unread by anyone who could have acted on it, for the rest of the night. This isn't a story about a careless man. Every account of Jack Phillips describes someone unusually dedicated, working nearly without rest. That's what makes this harder to sit with, not easier. It wasn't laziness that buried the most accurate warning of the night. It was one competent person doing one ordinary job under one impossible workload. Somewhere between "I'll get to it" and "too late" is exactly where this warning disappears. How would you ever know, in the moment, which one is the message that can't wait? By 11 o'clock, the ice comes looking for them one final time. The Californian has stopped for the night, boxed in by field ice she doesn't want to risk crossing in the dark. Her only wireless operator, a young man named Cyril Evans, reaches out directly. "Say, old man, we are stopped and surrounded by ice." Phillips is still buried in Cape Race traffic, and Californian is close enough that her signal is blasting through his headphones at painful volume, drowning out the distant station he's trying to reach. He snaps back, shut up, I am busy, I am working Cape Race." Evans doesn't take it personally. It's standard wireless shorthand for "not now." He listens a little longer. Then, at 25 to midnight, he takes off his headphones, switches off his set, and goes to bed. 5 minutes later, high above the deck in the cold, open air of the crow's nest, lookout Frederick Fleet is watching the horizon with nothing but his own eyes. No binoculars, no moon, no warning bell from the bridge to tell him exactly where to look. At 20 minutes to midnight, the exact minute this story began, something detaches itself from the darkness ahead. Solid, immense, already close. Fleet strikes the lookout bell 3 times, the signal for danger dead ahead, and picks up the telephone to the bridge. "Iceberg right ahead!" "Thank you," comes the reply. On the bridge, First Officer William Murdoch gives the order. Hard a starboard, engines full astern, and for 37 seconds, the largest ship in the world tries to answer him. 37 seconds is not enough. The hull scrapes along the ice below the waterline. in a place almost no one can see, doing damage almost no one can yet measure. Most of the 2,200 people on board feel only a faint shudder, distant and forgettable, more like riding over gravel than striking a mountain of ice. Below decks, water is already finding its way through steel plates never designed to be tested like this. Above decks, nothing much seems to have happened at all. One survivor would later describe it exactly this way. No one seemed to know the extent of the accident. Another remembered the strange, almost pleasant sensation of it. I felt the boat rise. It seemed to me that she was riding over the ice. People walk out to look, find chunks of ice scattered across the deck, and pick them up like souvenirs. Somewhere below, 5 postal clerks are already working to save the mail. Not themselves, the mail. Carrying sacks up out of a flooding hold because that is, in this moment, still what their job is. How long does it take 2,000 people to understand that the unsinkable ship is actually sinking? And what does it cost every minute they don't? Captain Smith reaches the bridge within a minute of the collision. It will take him longer than that to fully grasp what the 7 warnings of the past 12 hours had already told him was possible. Months later, 2 official inquiries, one in London, one in Washington, sit down to explain what happened in the space of about 2 hours and take 36 days to do it. Neither concludes that anyone acted with malice. Neither finds a villain. What the American inquiry writes instead is this: that overconfidence about the ship's safety had dulled the crew's alertness, despite the warnings they'd received. Not stupidity, not recklessness, overconfidence. A word an official government report chose in 1912 to explain why 7 warnings, sent by name, with times, with coordinates, still weren't enough. It's easy to watch this story and feel the distance of history. Different century, different technology, wireless keys and paper telegrams instead of anything we'd recognize today. But the failure at the center of it was never really about the equipment. It was about how a warning has to travel, from one tired person, through one ordinary decision, to reach another person who has to actually believe it in time to act. Every link in that chain is human. Every human link can quietly fail without anyone noticing until it's too late to matter. The Titanic received more warnings about the exact danger ahead of her than almost any ship in history before her sank anyway. So maybe the question was never really about a ship, or an iceberg, or a night in 1912 at all. Maybe it's this: the next warning you dismiss, because you've heard one too many like it, because you're busy, because everything has been fine so far. What if that's the one with the coordinates that matter?